But this midterm is so different. This midterm is so different, folks. And it requires us to be much more in tune with ourselves and in tune with our values and in tune with our view and our vision for a new future, right? It's so different. But more than that, it's also a sign that something needs to change with Black political power. And this is what's happening in the city of Detroit. And I want to share this with you. This is what's going on right now, folks. Now, take a look. This gentleman here, his name is Shri Thanedar, excuse me, Shri Thanedar. He had beaten, take a look. This is the state representative for the city, Michigan's 13th Congressional District, which is in Detroit. This guy, and I'm not putting him on blast, I'm just sharing with you what the situation is. This is the man who has beaten 8 Black candidates in a primary to become the Democratic candidate for Michigan's 13th Congressional District. And look at what and I want to show you what this report is. And this is coming from the New York Times. The New York Times said that this Shri Thanedar, excuse me, he became this candidate for the first time in almost 70 years in a city that has the nation's largest majority of Black people. This is the representative. His victory, according to the New York Times, set off waves of anxiety among Detroit's Black political leaders who tried desperately to prevent Mr. Thanedar from winning. A primary win in such a heavily Democratic district is tantamount to being elected. I've experienced that in Baltimore as well. Black leaders described it as embarrassing and disappointing and argue that Detroit should have representation that reflects its population, which is 77% Black. 3/4 of Detroit voters supported a Black candidate. I want to stop right here because and like I say, I got to break this down into pieces, and I'll share into my culture crew. Y'all share your thoughts with us, and let's just have a brief discussion around this. This is like our intro to understanding that we really need to look at Black political power in some of these spaces, some of these major cities. When you're talking about Baltimore, Detroit, Chicago, Atlanta, Los Angeles, there is something happening, folks, where Black political power that we know it. Like, you have those Black political gatekeepers. We all know those individuals, right? In our respective cities and states. But we're also finding, and we've had this conversation last week, right? That Black people, of course, we're not monolithic. That Black people, just because you're Black doesn't mean you're automatically going to gain the Black vote. That Black people are seriously considering going across the aisle to do something with the Republican Party to see what they can get out of that. Black people, I'm saying Black voters are all over the place. If you have a gentleman, again, I'm not mad at this man for running, but he beat 8 Black candidates in Detroit, folks, to become the Democratic candidate, and he disrupted a history. Now, this is not his fault. This is not his fault. It just goes to show you that something is happening, that if he's able to beat 8 Black candidates, how was that able to happen? How was that able to happen? Let me share with you very quickly, and Keenan and Ariel, let's put up the second quote, please, from the article. Let me share with you, the New York Times said, according to their report, they said the challenge to Black political power in Detroit comes from divisions within its own leadership and from constituents. Reapportionment cost Michigan a House seat last year, and the newly redrawn district maps reduced the number of Black voters in the 13th district. After years of severe economic insecurity and a string of political scandals, some residents are showing a willingness to try something new. Take a listen to this. Watch this final sentence, folks. There is an emerging sense among some Black constituents that the psychic emotional and symbolic benefits of racial representation may not have materially improved their lives. Y'all hear me on that one? This is what's been reported. This is the landscape that Black folks have to work in. So you have a candidate who's able to navigate through all of that. If 3/4 of Black folks went out to support three Black candidates, then how was this gentleman able to get through the fray and become the Democratic candidate and essentially stop history with nearly, after 70 years, there's not going to be any Black person going to Congress from a predominantly Black city like Detroit? How does that happen? Well, a couple of things that crossed my mind, folks. The first thing that crossed my mind was that there were so many Black candidates. And this is the old, if you understand politics, about splitting the vote. This is a huge problem. I've seen this happen in Baltimore, and I've seen this happen in other cities. There's this huge problem where we can't be united even with the candidates. Y'all understand what I'm saying? We can't be united even with the candidates, and that's a problem. And as a result of that, you got Black folks voting for other Black folks, yeah. But then guess what? It opens up the field where another candidate who may not be a representative of the majority population is able to come through the middle and essentially win. I hope y'all understand what I'm saying on this. Again, this is not necessarily a bad thing for the candidate. I'm not blaming Mr. Thanedar for running. I'm looking at, what does that say about Black political power and where we are right now, where we are allowed, where something like this would happen. And my concern is that this may happen in other cities where there's a strong Black political, base, strong Black political power. In cities like, around the South, like I said, this happened in Baltimore and in other places, right? Where folks can essentially take advantage of the splitting of the vote. And we got to figure out, why do we need, if you have 8 Black candidates on a single ballot, folks, we can't have a conversation beforehand. I remember back in the day, I was always told, and I was told this by a number of people, so y'all may have heard this or not, but I was told that at a certain point back in the day, maybe 40, 50 years ago, there were certain conversations that were had with Black folks getting in politics. Like you had a coalition of folks that would look at each candidate and say, hey, okay, you running for Black folks? And this coalition could be made up of community people and business people, but they essentially decided. They were the ones that gave the blessings to the candidates. Or they were these were the group of people, and y'all know what type of folks, right? These were the group of people that determined, like, okay, we got a couple of things on the political agenda. So which candidate would be best fit? Which candidate would best serve the interest? We can't have too many candidates because guess what? We split the vote. We gotta put our blessing, and we have to make sure that we can, put a couple of candidates out there. And I know Black folks saying we all don't think the same. But if we don't have to think the same about everything, but if we don't think the same about anything, then that becomes the problem. You mean to tell me that you got that many Black folks and somebody couldn't have said, hey, man, how about for the interest of the greater good, for the interest of the collective good, look, if we want to keep this thing Black, right? We want to keep this thing representative of the population, then we should fall back. That's the first thing. The second thing that I found that was interesting is because you got so many Black people who unfortunately have screwed over other Black people while in office. And I'm thinking about Kwame Kilpatrick out of Detroit, the former mayor who was doing what he was doing, right? And how that would allow, that added to the distrust that Black folks have of other Black people in political office. Because we always want to say vote Black, and I'm down for it. But when I vote Black, are you going to be a thief? When I vote Black, are you going to be some, just not doing your job, or you involved in other stuff? You think you can follow the same rules as your white colleagues? So you involved in the same stuff? Nah. And can you really? And I've literally seen this, folks. I have literally seen this. This has happened in Baltimore, and I've seen this in other places. That when certain Black folks get elected out and say they're very popular among some of the people get mad. Y'all may have seen this. The candidate gets mad at the voters for not voting for them, even though that candidate may have a bunch of baggage. And you mad at the voters because we tell people to vote. We say go out and go to the ballot box. But when they go out to the ballot box, you blast them because they didn't vote for you, instead of saying, well, I appreciate the time that I was able to serve or the opportunity. You blast them for making the wrong choice. But you got all this baggage. You got all this drama. But you want us to vote for you because you Black. Because you did a couple of things for Black folk. But overall, we're not getting the full benefit of your time in office. That's why that piece in the New York Times, that's why I wanted to highlight this. There's an emerging sense among Black constituents that the psychic, emotional, and symbolic benefits of racial representation may not have materially improved their lives. Yeah, a Pyrrhic victory could be good. A symbolic victory is good, but my taxes, I'm still paying high for. I can't get a loan for my small business. I can't get a loan I can't refinance my home without going through the institutionalized racism with mortgage loans. The problems with the police continue to happen, right? The schools in my neighborhood are still, but you Black. It's symbolic. And this is not a shade on Black political leadership. I'm talking about a certain type of Black leader that wants the grandstand in front of us, but they want us to enjoy the symbolism. Oh, I'm the first Black person in this role or this position. But are you going to be the first Black person to actually do some work? And this is creating a problem, I think, for a lot of us, because we don't want to just use our vote haphazardly. We don't want to just give away our vote. And, we don't want to just go like our little sister, when I talked about it last week, she talking about the least worst option down in Atlanta. We don't want to feel that way when our people are on the ballot. But if you are standing before Black folk and all you got to offer is your presence, not presents, not like Christmas, your presence, like your existence, that's all you offer. The fact that you in the room. But your mind and your heart and your efforts don't lead to real change for Black people. It adds to Black folks feeling like, I'm not getting nothing. And that's the place that we in. All right, let me go to some of these. Man, folks are checking in. Tiana, you kicked us off today. Good to hear from you. You said, look, I'm thinking the quality of the candidates. Right. I mean, out of 8 candidates, if this gentleman was able to beat 8 black candidates in this congressional race, out of 8 candidates, Tiana, it's hard for me to believe that at least 2, 3, 4 possibly, but maybe 2 or 3 of them are quality candidates. And you mean to tell me the others couldn't rally behind those 2 or 3? Maybe 1? Real Brooklyn, Tiana, appreciate you, sis. Thank you. Real Brooklyn, my guy, you said, and also didn't Detroit just change its district maps, right? And it reduced the number of black voters. Yeah, I said that, right? That's one of the reasons why black voters in Detroit are being disempowered, right? So you're disempowered in representation. You're disempowered based on your the congressional boundaries. What is black political power doing? All this stuff is happening. You saying it's embarrassing? Yeah, it's embarrassing. I'm embarrassed for you. I'm not even in the city. I'm embarrassed. Because Detroit was always that stalwart city for black power, for black political power. Detroit has been one of them cities, like Chicago is Detroit. Certain cities has always understood the pulse of black political power. So if Detroit is losing, woo. I feel you, Real Brooklyn. Thank you for checking in. Jawan, thank you, sis. You said the math ain't mathing between gerrymandering and infighting within our own party. It's like we take 1 step forward and 2 steps back. I'm not sure what the solution is, right? Let me tell you, it's unity. I mean, that comes to me, unity, right? Putting away our egos, right? Knowledge. You know what I'm saying? Like there are some big things, but unity. I mean, we all, again, we're not a monolith. We all got different interests, but at the end of the day, what's for the greater good? You see what I'm saying? And we may have to go back to that old school way of, hey, man, sitting down with whoever that coalition of folks are in your respective city who've always. And we had them in Baltimore, and I'm sure there's something like that here in Los Angeles and all of that stuff. Like some black folks got to just be like, look, man, whether it's black business people, whether it's whoever, look, we can't have 6 and 7 black folks on the ticket. Somebody's going to have to sit their ass down. I mean, it's old school, but we may have to go back to that. You don't like my music. You say black people can be reactionary too. We need to fight that. Oh, absolutely. Oh, that absolutely, bro. Absolutely. Everything is everything. You said too much ego, not enough on code. Come on, man. Come on. That's the place we in. We can't be so ego. Like, I get it. Okay, it's not your time. And I'm not saying it's like, what older folks say to the younger folks. I'm talking about, hey, man, if your agenda or if your platform isn't that strong, or if your influence among the people isn't that strong, you might want to sit down. Let's build that up. And let's get you in the next cycle. But this cycle, this is our guy. This is our system. You know what I'm saying? And it is what it is. It's organized political power. We always talk about, well, what white people, any group of people, they do that. They put their best forward, right? They get past all the egos. They get past, well, they coulda, woulda, shouldas. They get past living vicariously through somebody else and say, look, what's for the greater good? How are we going to still remain powerful? We're so worried about the individual, we forget about the collective. See, that's how messed up our system and our culture is at this moment. We're so worried about what's good for me and not what's good for us and we. Michael, everything is everything. Thank you. Michael Judkins, good to hear from you. You said it is called gerrymandering. There's always been more than one black person running for the same office. Where have you been? I am from Detroit. I didn't say it hasn't. No, don't get me mixed up, Michael. I didn't say that more than one person shouldn't run or that's crazy that they are running. No, I didn't say that. But if you got 8 people on the ballot and gerrymandering happens, why wouldn't you prepare? Shouldn't you prepare for that? And I'm saying that not just about Detroit. I'm talking about any city. You see stuff that's coming down the pipe, right? And I'm talking about the black political power the older folks, the folks that's been in the system for a long time, the folks that understand it. A lot of your candidates, they're not older, they're younger, they're fresher, they are not as, some of them may be naive, some of them not knowledgeable about all of these strategies and tactics and things to keep people disenfranchised and disempowered. So the older folks got to say, look, bring them into the room and say, look, here's the situation. We got so many months before this next election. They're gerrymandering right now. Here's what we need to do. If you're thinking about running for office, come talk to us so we can figure out how the best way we can put forth a representative that's going to carry the agenda. I mean, it's called organizing, bro. It's called preparing for those things. It's not like we can't work against gerrymandering. We just got to organize. Fly girl, you checked in. I live in Detroit. I vote. The bottom line, black people did not come out and vote. And why didn't that happen, Fly girl? If y'all had a candidate that spoke to your interests and needs, I would think that people would come out to vote. But somebody else spoke for us in a predominantly black city. How does that? 77% of Detroit is black. 77. In Baltimore, it was like 65. So we had a high black number. But you mean to tell me that black folks can't organize or have a candidate? I can't believe that. It's hard for me to believe that. There was some candidate that could have spoke to the needs of the people. Shalinda, you said, and these black ones that didn't vote will be the main ones complaining, right? Right. Absolutely. Willie Frazier, you checked in and said, the question we should ask ourselves before we vote for me would be, is this person who runs for political office a public servant? Brother, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more, Willie. I could not agree with you more, bro. That's part of the problem. We're not asking that question. Like, is this person who's standing before me asking for my support, are they really a public servant? Are they in it to serve, or are they in it to gain for themselves? That's a viable question. And we need to ask every black person that comes across to us, not what you got. Oh, y'all seen you in some pictures with this person and that person, because we get enamored by that. But be like, look, man, are you here to serve? Like, for real, break it down for me like I'm in 4th grade, bro. Are you here to serve? Does your history speaks to your ability to serve the public without asking for a whole bunch of frills and thrills? I don't need, you know what I mean? You got to ask that question. Janelle, you checked it. After George Floyd protests, Democrats should have started civic ed and then consolidated under the agreed upon platform of ideas. Leadership funnel must be developed or you get a pile on. All right, let me just change that one thing, Janelle, and I like the direction that you're going. Take out Dems, replace it with black power, black political power. This ain't the Democrats' fault, y'all. This ain't the Democrats' fault. If you are waiting for the Democrats to respond to this, this ain't the Democrats' fault. This is black political power. This is an issue with black people, and I'm talking about those who have been in this system. They need to carry this. Lana, my sister, you checked in. Politically, we are dead, and our current leadership has failed us. Not all, because we can highlight which ones are. There are those who are running right now, or Mandela Barnes and others who are running right now, but not all. I don't want us to get into a place of hopelessness. They haven't all failed us, but we got to figure out how to duplicate those who are coming before us. Man, there we go. All right, let me get to Fly Girl. You said stop by blaming the redistricting in Detroit. Not enough young people came out to vote for the black candidate. Well, you got a lot of black candidates to vote for. You got a lot of black candidates to vote for. So here's the thing. I wanted to put this out there because I'm very, very greatly concerned about where we are in the city of Detroit. But here's what, we're going to talk about this as we lead up to, of course, to the midterms. But this can't be the way we go as we move forward in the presidential election. This can't be the way we roll, folks. Like, if nothing else, this midterm should give us some insight about where we are, how we need to change, and more importantly, what is going to be the new path for Black political power and progress in this country. If nothing else, the midterms should do that.
This is our time, our moment to move forward, beyond the gun violence, the hospital closures, the unaffordable housing. Brian Kemp's Georgia for the wealthiest few. Stacey Abrams is looking out for every Georgian. She'll invest our $6 billion surplus in the fundamentals, education, healthcare, housing, and a good living, putting more money in your pocket to build one Georgia where everyone has the freedom to thrive.
All right, folks, back to that Roland Mark Unfiltered video in just one moment. Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches!
I'm real revolutionary right now. Black power!
Support this man, Black media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?